chosen by you and lauded by his teachers, Mr. Robert Kuyat.
Teachers, parents, family, administration, friends, distinguished guests, and fellow graduates, thank you for being here this evening on this special occasion, Commencement 2013. I am deeply honored to have been selected to speak on behalf of this incredible graduating class. As I stand here looking out over my fellow graduates, I see future musicians, scholars, artists, scientists, writers, and the best friends I've ever known, each with a journey in mind and a story that waits to be written. James Weldon Johnson, an American author and civil rights activist, once said, "Our life is one open book full of pages. We laugh, we cry, we smile, we stumble, we stand, we fall, and we succeed. Every chapter defines who we really are." In many ways, this passage truly represents our time at Saunders. We too have laughed, cried, smiled, stumbled, stood, fallen, and ultimately ended up here tonight. Many cherished moments arise as we flip through the pages of our memories. These pages are the stories of our past lives at Saunders, dedicated to those who will pick up where we have left off. Tonight is an opportunity to peruse those chapters and predict where they might lead in our futures. Chapter 1. Like any great story, we begin by being introduced to new characters and a new setting. Our narrative began in grade 9, our introduction to life within the walls of the intimidating world of secondary school. I'm sure we all vividly remember our first day when we stepped into the halls only to face a current of massive grade 12 students who all seemed to be heading in the opposite direction. Although it was initially intimidating, we were welcomed into a diverse family where we were all made to feel like we belonged. It didn't matter if we came from Westmount next door or took a bus from an elementary school in Delaware. And yes, Mr. Emery, although I am from Lambeth, I didn't wear overalls this evening or get a ride on track. It was our diverse backgrounds that made the grade 9 chapter of our Saunders story so rich and vibrant. We embraced our diversity through food fairs, the social justice events, the LGBT meetings, and many other causes that we were exposed to and became aware of. Celebrating diversity will be critical in our lifetimes. When we understand each other, we will go a long way into seeing each other as indispensable to the cultural mosaic that is our world. Increasingly, that rich diversity will become our reality, a part of the fabric from which we will weave our futures. Chapter 2. In many ways, our grade 9 story reads like an instruction manual. We quickly learned many things. We learned that grade 9s don't ride at the back of the bus. When we see Mr. Tominga coming down a crowded hallway, we got out of the way. That, despite what Mr. Cummins says about gravity, it is entirely possible to fall up a flight of stairs. And that Mr. Rodriguez becomes 6 feet tall if you decide not to wear your safety glasses. Life is full of new opportunities for growth. There is never a time in life when there is no more to learn. And sometimes, the most life-changing lessons are not the obvious ones. They are the ones learned when an evening of Facebook earned a D+ on the next day's math test, and when a momentary or short-lived diversion is postponed in favor of the sacrifices required for long-term rewards. Never underestimate the power of initial failure. It is sometimes the strongest incentive in producing eventual success. Chapter 3. As Miss Kirk has impressed indelibly into our minds, it is in the middle of the story that the characters take risks, make mistakes, and develop character. We learn to live for the moment and to take risks too. Did you ever try to sneak food into the library under the watchful eye of Miss Anderson? Or send a text message in the front row of class? Or catch a quick nap while studying Shakespeare? Or take a bathroom break and return to class with a Harvey's drink? If you did, then you learned the consequences of making mistakes. At least once in these 4 years, everyone has fallen down the infamous Saunders stairs. With the opportunities both to fall and to rise again, Saunders has offered us the possibilities to become whoever we wanted to be. We were equation solvers and essay writers, entertainers at coffee houses, actors and set builders, athletes and volunteers. And through it all, we discovered our talents and developed integrity, perseverance, and compassion, both in and out of the classroom. We learned that the pride on the volleyball court resonated in the stands as well. We learned that underwater welding really does exist, that a man with no legs really could climb Everest, and that possibilities are limitless when we set our minds to it. Most importantly, we learned to make a difference in our communities. Our annual Saunders Cancer Campaign continues to speak for itself. All of these valuable lessons told us that character is formed by those who aren't afraid to get involved, who aren't afraid to take risks, and who are humble enough and smart enough to learn through their mistakes. Life is full of opportunities to grow, overcome challenges, or develop character. The final chapter. As our English teachers have told us so often, our greatest growth comes through the conflicts and the difficulties that we face and subsequently forced to overcome. Sadly, our time at Saunders has not been without heartache. We will be forever grateful that we were able to have shared the lives of friends who had left us too soon. They taught us to live life to the fullest and to cherish every memory. Through them, we learned that if we hold close to our hearts those whom we've lost, they will be with us forever. We faced personal trials, whether that be experiencing self-doubts, not achieving our expectations, or losing loved ones. Throughout it all, we had 2,000 shoulders to lean on when we needed them. It was in these moments that we learned we were not just part of a school, we were part of a family. We learned perseverance and courage. We learned that failure often motivates more than success. We learned that when we fall, there would be a hand to help us back to our feet. With each new opportunity we experienced and each hurdle we overcame, we grew as individuals and became closer. We will have many falls in the years to come. Remember that these falls are necessary for growth. It is what we do after the fall that matters. Every story ends with credits, and ours is no different. We did not write our story alone. We were guided by teachers who taught and inspired, who cajoled and made our lives richer and fuller. Those very same teachers sometimes just gave us that badly needed kick in the pants to stay on track. Years from now, we will fondly remember that certain teacher who convinced us to join the football team, or volunteer at that event, or pursue our love of biology. We thank them now for going that extra mile and empowering us to discover our strengths, acknowledge our limitations, learn from our failures, and follow our passions. In many ways, they have co-authored our Saunders story, sometimes pushing us into things, sometimes pulling us away from things, but always guiding and steering us towards self-knowledge. Finally, thank you to our families who have watched us grow from awkward grade 9s to the remarkable and confident graduates who sit in this auditorium tonight. Our families have supported us through good times and bad, from watching us become city champs to convincing us that we would survive our first exams. Although at times we may have taken them for granted, tonight we want to tell them how important they are to us. They are the glue that binds together the pages of our story. They are the spine and the hardcover. And, if truth be told, they are our publishers as well, every time we make them proud. So here we stand tonight, in the epilogue of our story, facing graduation and the conclusion to our Saunders story. We can be certain that any great story stays with us forever. Although we will eventually go our separate ways, these volumes of our Saunders years will stay embedded within our hearts. It is now our time to begin writing our individual epilogues. Steve Jobs once said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." Steve Jobs had it right. Now it is our turn to write our own contribution to this amazing tale. My hope is that each of you dedicates your life to creating the best story possible. Surround yourself with characters you love, admire, and respect. Make each chapter original, beautiful, and unforgettable. Learn from each failure, relish each triumph, and honor each moment. You alone are the author of your story. Make it a masterpiece. Thank you. Good evening.